Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma. I'm a member of many people who have the privilege of speaking to each of you fine Steelers and or NFL fans here out in the podcastosphere. I was trying to change this up a little bit as I do each time just to break the monotony of saying blah, blah, blah. I'm your host, Joe Kuzma, but I'm not just your host. I have a co-pilot with me today who was not happy with his rank of captain. He also doesn't want to be called Robin, or I guess Sir Robin, but he does prefer the title of Lord High Muckety-Muck. His name is Brian Roach. Welcome back, Brian. I missed you, buddy.
Henceforth, I shall not respond to a name other than silky and smooth.
Oh, geez. It has gone to his cranium, folks. Somebody liked Brian's voice. He was a guest on another podcast. You know what? Let's plug those guys for a second because I didn't get a chance to be a part of this. I did want to be a part of this, and instead you got to join in the shenanigans. What is it that you were just up to the other day here?
So I joined All Pro Nation, a couple guys, Chris and Tanner, who they do a podcast that I think Chris is a Saints fan. He does a Saints-based podcast, and Tanner's a Viking guy. He does a Vikings podcast, but together they also do a general NFL podcast, and they invited us on board to talk about the AFC North, and then Tanner was going to talk about the NFC North. And we went on and we went on. A great couple guys. We just talked and talked, and apparently many of their listeners found me. And I'm multiplying the actual value of the listeners because it was really only one, as far as I'm aware. Thought my voice was silky and smooth.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'm going to have to go back and get Noah instead. Thanks for joining us today, Brian. Oh, man. I'm telling you. Lord High Muckety-Muck. He didn't like Robin. Hey, I even said that Noah was the Lego Batman version of Robin.
I'm not Robin. I can be Nightwing. I told you that. I can be Nightwing. Nightwing has a full bodysuit. Robin wears those stupid tights with legs exposed. I do not have the legs to carry that costume off, and I'm not wearing red.
No one even knows who Nightwing is, and besides, Nightwing's just for those who don't know, he's just a grown-up Robin, so you're not quite grown up yet, so you have not matured to that point to be a Nightwing. Maybe you could just be like one of the Robins that they, kill in the comic books, and we'll get a new one.
I could be Jason Todd. There you go. Kill me now, Joker.
Oh, man, what we have divulged far, far off the Steelers reservation. We do have Steelers stuff to talk about, but first, I was talking about the Olympics. Did you catch anything? Shaun White, the other, is it Chloe Kim? I'm mispronouncing her name now, and I feel terrible. Gold medalist, the snowboarders. The one thing I cared about, I watched. It was pretty phenomenal. Did you catch anything out there in the Olympic world?
I watched Shaun White's run, the gold medal winning run. And that was fun. I like that half pipe thing. It's a pipe. It's half. Those are two good things. And they jump high in the air. But I have to say, I keep coming back to certain things. And my wife and I are sitting and we're watching this thing. And one of the big tricks that they do is they just go really high and then they arc. Right? They grab their board and they do a little stretchy thing. And we just both you just look at each other and go, "What the hell was that?" and the announcer's going, "Oh my God, that's the most incredible thing in the world." I'm like, that's boring. I want to see you flip over and spin around and do this crazy stuff, not just go up in the air and point your toes.
And it seems so simple, and I equate this to maybe even professional wrestling. It used to be a big deal to go off the top rope, like Jimmy Superfly Snuka, for example, in the early and mid 80s. And then now it's like everybody jumps off the top rope and does a few twists and lands on 10 bodies on the floor, and you barely get a round of applause or anything for it. It doesn't excite anybody because you've seen it and done it. Everybody, there's been many Evel Knievels sense. And I kind of equate it to that because Shaun White, all these guys are doing their thing, and you're like, wow, this is pretty amazing. I'm looking for the next thing. What's the big thing that's going to wow me? And then you have the guy that got hurt, and they stretcher him off, and you're like, wow, okay, now you could see just how, or even Shaun White kind of screws up. You had the Japanese snowboarder who was like a practically half his age, Shaun White,
and half his size. He's like 3 inches tall.
Yeah, and he's a small guy. I called him Rey Mysterio, which was a wrestling thing. Me and my wife were watching it. Rey Mysterio is a small luchador. He wore a mask and everything. But anyways, he zips around the wrestling ring. This guy zips around the half pipe. And we're going to talk about football, folks, but just real quick, I mean, it's just, that was pretty amazing. He overtook Shaun White's score because I thought to myself, Shaun White went out there and he's like, I'm going to win this in the very first one. And then I'm going to try and do something really crazy and try and get a perfect score. And he screwed up on the second run, and you're like, wow, now it's got some gravity to it. And since he's the final guy going, he sees what everybody else has to do. He knows what he has to do it, but it's literally do or die. It is, the third run, you get to throw out the worst scores. Your best score does it, and they get 3 tries, so you get some mulligans. And he goes out there, and you're really wondering, wow, that was like near perfection what I saw, but did the judges see the same thing? Did he do enough? Because his first score was like 94 something. The Japanese snowboarder, he had like a 95, and I mean these are like crazy scores because everybody else is doing like 82, and some people have some 30s and 40s, and then all of a sudden Shaun White busts out like a 97 something, and you're just like, wow, you know what I mean? It's kind of one of those moments where I remember watching the one gymnast. They used to make fun of her, like the "you can do it" and everything thing. Heidi, was it Heidi? Hey, I can't remember her name now. Jeez, it's escaping me. They made fun of her on Saturday Night Live and stuff like that, but it was the one who hurt her ankle and then ended up just killing her final like routine or whatever and getting the gold medal. And man, it's escaping me. Someone's going to make fun of me for this, but alas, the reason I'm bringing up gold medals and Olympics, and number one, we don't have football to talk about. It's the only thing going on that's of any consequence. No one cares about the NBA All-Star Game. No one cared about the Pro Bowl, and most of us only cared that the New England Patriots lost. But in losing, that meant the Philadelphia Eagles are world champions. And I had to get your thought on this because it was bothering me. It bothers me when I see the Sports Illustrated or whatever. It's like, hey, get your commemorative. They obviously have 2 commercials done up, but right as soon as the Super Bowl is over, it's here. Your Philadelphia Eagles are now world champions. And I'm just like, it would make sense, like Major League Baseball, I don't think there's an argument that all the best players in the world play in the United States and, one team in Canada in Major League Baseball of all walks of life and ethnicities and everything else. And likely the same with the NBA and the National Hockey League is, also U.S. and Canada type thing. So I don't think you could dispute when they say they're world champions. I don't think a team's going to come over from Japan and play like the Pittsburgh Pirates. And, well, the Pirates, actually, they may not be so hot this year, so maybe they would come over and beat them, but they're not going to beat the world champions like the Houston Astros or something like that. But the Philadelphia Eagles, it's like, I think there's high school football teams that could beat whoever or whatever somebody could field, maybe in the UK or in Germany or something like that. So what are your thoughts when you hear world champions? I prefer like Super Bowl champions, but world champions just, it just doesn't have the same, it doesn't carry the same weight in football for me,
Well, it doesn't because you're right. I mean, I actually prefer Super Bowl champions too, because I just think there's a level of arrogance going around when you say this American sport is, or the American version of this sport, because there are Canadian football leagues. Not that any NFL team probably would beat the champion of the CFL, but I'm just, my opinion is Super Bowl champions is better. World champions promotes a level of American arrogance that I think tends to make us, in some countries, be referred to as the ugly Americans. And look, the bottom line is nobody else really plays. It's our sport. And the only reason it gets confused and people get bent out of shape is because they think it's soccer someplace else.
Well, speaking of which, too, it's like, the Major League Soccer, the MLS, we know for sure anybody that follows that, I casually here or there, because we all know the MLS isn't anywhere near, anyone will admit this, near the best in the world at all. In fact, most of the aging stars come to Major League Soccer, come to play in the United States and, cash a paycheck or two before their playing days are done. They watch the English Premier League or the La Liga or any number of, I don't want to say foreign, but global, because English Premier League, it's on every weekend now on NBC, just on regular broadcast TV. It's amazing how far some of that's come, and a lot of people consider that one of the top, if not the top league in the world, but they don't necessarily say that they're world champions, and then they play in different Champions Leagues and things like that, where the English champion plays like the Spanish champion, and they have a whole tournament and all this other stuff, and they get the European champion, and then of course you get the nationality things and that. But I don't know. I think some people may view, outside of, I don't know about American arrogance necessarily. I get that too, but to say that. But I also think some people take pride in that and say, you know what, the American guys, the NFL, that's the best. So maybe they do agree it's world champions. I'd be interested in hearing some opinions on this from some of our listeners, because this wasn't a topic I necessarily brought up. I heard it on one of the various many radio broadcasts that I listened throughout the day and the week. And I was like, you know what, that's a pretty good one to bring up for our listeners. So, and I was curious on your opinion. I prefer Super Bowl champions too. I don't think anyone would ever contest whether or not anybody could beat an NFL team. And there was like this World Series of football or something of that nature years ago, and it was a lot of amateur teams. And my buddy went to it. He's a big football nut. He's a Browns fan too, so he has to watch other lousy football such as this. It was like a bunch of like D3 college players playing on the Team USA, and between the Canadian team and the American team, they were beating Sweden, and they were beating them by like 60 points. It was like a no contest type deal. So it's kind of funny because that kind of lays the claim of world champions or whatever. So the Olympics got me thinking about that, and you get to say whether the gold medal says you're the best, but when you're representing like a country like the hockey team, you don't have like many of your best players, because the NHL, the professional players, aren't involved, and it's just the amateurs and stuff. And the men's hockey team not doing so hot with the USA. The women's team doing excellent, and that's usually the way it is with soccer too, believe it or not. So, but
who we can ask?
Who?
We can ask the Aussie guys.
Oh, we could. I can't wait. They're going to tell us that our football. No, they love our football.
Yeah, well, they do. But
as opposed to,
look, I'm stacking the deck, man.
you are Lord Muckety-Muck, so you are entitled to that. So, yeah, you know what? Let's talk some Steelers. We put something up, kind of shotgun approach here for Valentine's Day. Happy belated Valentine's Day, Brian. I could say that. I'm very confident in saying that to you, one man to another.
Sure.
Jeez, I digress. Hey, don't make me take your title away. You'll be back to Captain Obvious. So the Steelers we're most in love with right now, and why? And we polled some of our panelists, and actually pretty well received. I thought I would get a little bit of backlash from the anti-Valentine's Day grumpists that are out there. But we had some good picks. We had some great picks, and then we had some guys that weren't picked at all. So I'm going to go around the roster. First of all, I'm going to hear your pick. I'll say my pick. I'll say a few of the other picks. Some people shared players, and then we'll go down the roster a little bit, see who's missed, and then again we'll have some other topics to talk about next week, of course. But the Steelers we're in love with right now. Who are you in love with right now?
Well, this wasn't my pick, but I'm going to say it because my bromance, my man crush.
You're changing.
No, I'm going to go to my pick. I'm just going to tell you that my real bromance and man crush is Cam Hayward, and it will be that way until he's gone. But I did not pick him as my Valentine.
Shame on you.
And the reason I did not pick him as my Valentine is because I feel like there's another Steeler who has given us all a gift. It's a gift that will endure until next season. And that is Ben Roethlisberger, who gave us the gift of no quarterback controversy, no retirement nonsense. We get through this entire offseason without that drama. And I thank him for that. And that is why he is my Valentine. And I am in love with Ben right now because we don't have to deal with any of that baloney.
I'm giggling because you're talking about giving us a gift, and I'm just thinking about trolling you so hard. I'm like, if there's anyone in the Steelers organization that gave you a gift this year, it was probably Todd Haley. He gave me the gift
of a different gift.
He gave me the gift of a bald head because I pulled all my hair out. And I have no fingernails. They're all chewed off. And no, I agree. How can you not love Ben? It's great. Todd Haley actually did give us the gift of Ben Roethlisberger, maybe for as many as 3 years now. So thank you, Todd Haley. Be mine. Oh my goodness! You know what? Let's rewind a little bit. Some of these Valentine's Day cards.
Oh gosh.
I can't even think of it. Absolutely in love, or whatever it was, with AB like capitalized for Antonio Brown, or wheel as in a bicycle wheel for Juju Smith-Schuster. Will you be mine? Oh, they were so corny, but yet so great at the same time. I loved it. So yeah, I really thought you were going to pick Cam Hayward. I think Cam was Tina Rivers' pick. One of them.
Yep.
She said her first crush was Terry Bradshaw. I could see how that may have soured over the years. A little disenchanted with that one, but she had Cam Hayward and Vince Williams, and who can't like Vince Williams' just passion for the game and singing and dancing and all the things he does. And she even created a little Valentine's e-card that she tweeted at him. If anyone's looking at the number 3 Rivers writer, go follow Tina. She'll appreciate that. We don't give a plug to Tina very much. We don't give her. She's been on.
Do it now.
But yes, follow now. My pick, my man crush, the guy who gets me all tingly was. It's been Vance McDonald, and I've been kind of reclusive towards saying that up until he had the big game with 10 catches and 100-some yards against the Jaguars in the playoffs, because he had been hurt and missed like maybe 5 or 6 games, portions of others, and I've been waiting. I've been chewing. You heard me like gushing on Ladarius Green the year before. I've just been waiting for that tight end threat. I like that guy. I just want the guy that could go be the vertical threat, that could block, that could do it all and create mismatches. I get sick of seeing Gronk and his Neanderthal moves down the field. That guy, you know what? It's ridiculous how athletic he is. He doesn't always look athletic. It doesn't always look like he's going to get the ball. It doesn't look like he's going to get open, and he does, and he manhandles people. And I want the Steelers to have that, man. That angers me, and it angers me that nobody in the league covers that guy. And I always say in the league because everyone's complaining about the Steelers and complaining, and Gronk just does his own thing. He's a man among children out there. So for me, it's Vance McDonald because I think he could be our Gronk, and I'm just hoping that my pick stays. I'm hoping that his salary falls in line with the Steelers' plans. I think it does. I don't see he's not terribly expensive. Is he paid more than other players? Is he a brought on added expense with that trade with San Francisco last year? Of course he is. But I see a very bright future for Vance McDonald if he stays healthy and stays in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I just want to clarify something. You said you've been desperately waiting for a tight end.
Yes, that could be interpreted. That could be interpreted so many different ways. The mind is.
I just wanted to be clear. That's all.
Well, let me tell you, I went and saw Bob Saget do stand up over the weekend, and for those people who know Bob Saget, they know him from the television show Full House and now the Netflix reboot Fuller House. He makes some appearances, and he's the clean-cut father, Danny Tanner, on the show. And if you've ever seen Bob Saget. If you've never seen him in stand-up, there's got to be a warning, parental guidance.
He's a dirty guy, man.
Dirty doesn't even, like, bold, extra bold, type, underlined, like everything you could do, highlight, flashing, blinky letters. Very vulgar, very vulgar. But he also has a song where he doesn't say any type of curse words and everything rhymes with curse words, and it's very PG, maybe even rated G, and it makes your mind go into a different place, just like my tight end comment did. So.
I see. Now, but let me talk about Vance for a second, because I mean he is under contract essentially. They have an out this year, but he's signed through 2021 or something like that, but. They could cut that all. They have an out this year to get rid of him if they choose. But I think his salary would be like 3.7 million. I think
it's around 4. Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes up a little bit each year, and I think it caps out at 5.5 3 years from now. But his cap hit this year is more. It's like 4.3. So the big question is, can they restructure it? Can they do something like they've done with the other guys? I agree with you. Vance McDonald showed exactly what it's like to have a dynamic pass-catching tight end. Apparently, I can't speak the words pass-catching, even though I'm silky and smooth.
Not so smooth.
Not so smooth. I'll go with silky. My tongue was so silky it slid over the words and mispronounced them. That's just nasty. Anyway, 4.3 million is a big cap hit. Yeah, it's a big cap hit, and I think so. There's some potential restructuring there, but he certainly showed his potential. As long as he can stay, on the field. I think this is a guy that they can benefit from, and it would take one more thing off of the draft needs list if they so do.
Yeah, and it's not like Jesse James isn't necessarily a terrible tight end either. He's probably like as far as fifth round picks go, an excellent fifth round pick when you go back and look at drafts and which we kind of did last the other day with me and Noah, and we went back and looked at some of the old drafts. His cap hit overall, his base salary is 3.7 for this year, 4.3. It escalates to no more than 5.5 through 2021. So the next 4 years, this could be the man in Pittsburgh. So we'll see how that rides. Best ability is always availability. So as we always say, as Mike Tomlin has said, few more picks here. Valentine for Eric Herman. I'm sorry. His Valentine this year, a very good one. This was one that a lot of us were blushing over through training camp and into the regular season, and he made us all proud to watch him grow and become this awesome player. That would be Mike Hilton, who's already signed his 1-year deal, restricted, exclusive rights, whatever it was that he had. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what it was, but Eric says words cannot describe the feeling in my heart when I see Hilton flying in the backfield towards a quarterback. It's easy and fun to root for an underdog, but not often do you get a story like Hilton's. He came out of nowhere and not only secured a starting spot on the roster, but a huge need for the team. I can't even remember the last time a Steelers cornerback made me excited like Mike Hilton, and he's just getting started. It's a classic love story, a tale as old as time. I love you, Mike. He laid it on thick.
Boy, did he ever. Look, I don't know if Megan's going to listen to this, but Megan, I'd be a little worried.
Yeah, Megan would be Eric's wife. I am so stuck on fiance. I keep forgetting they got married over the summer. So.
Oh, yeah.
Terry, our girl, our gal, Terry, not Terry Bradshaw Fletcher. In fact, she wants distance herself from that, but Terry Angel Fletcher. We'll let her explain the Angel part. She picked Big Al Alejandro Villanueva for all the obvious reasons. The guy came to training camp without a contract. He's the Army Ranger type. I mean, he's just super popular, and then he caps it all off and gets to go to his first Pro Bowl. She says he has my heart forever. That's just so lovely.
Well, and I guarantee. Look, unless you pull a James Harrison, Alejandro Villanueva, you will have her heart forever. There is no question. Terry is as loyal comes. It doesn't. You could give up 27 sacks next year. Please don't do that. But if you did, Terry will still love you.
I don't think they gave up 27 the entire year. That was very.
No, they did
year.
not. Absolutely.
So, they're sticking with linemen, a guy who loves his linemen. Not quite the tight ends, but loves his offensive linemen. He says, as a lover of all things offensive line, there aren't many that can do what David DeCastro can do up front. Zach Meckler picks David DeCastro, maybe, as we've said, one of the greatest greatest guard in the NFL as we speak. Zach says guard is never a sexy position in the NFL, but ask any team with issues with their interior, they would give anything to have a guy like David DeCastro. I'm just glad he plays for the good guys. So he didn't necessarily all gushy on us, but he did throw a jab as playing for the good guys. That would be the Steelers. So
yeah, absolutely. And there's no question that's a great pick. I mean, Zach and I, when on the couple times we've been on, we both, being ex-offensive linemen when we played football, we have a little O-line crush all the time. And DeCastro is just an outstanding guy and an outstanding lineman.
So Noah Freeman picked. He went with Big Ben as well, and as he's saying, the franchise stability, blah 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 blah. Not to rehash everything we've already said. And then our final panelist here, since some of our guys are missing in action, nearly missing in action. Oh no, I'm sorry. Reed actually showed up this time for this one. Reed Harmon. So we had two, because we have Reed, who is kind of the ghost. I almost think he's like a spy, like Zach is, and then we have the ninja, who is Zach Celadonia, who pops in and out. So we've got guys who are paying attention and guys that pop in and out and just kind of here and there.
Before you tell me Zach's, let me guess that it was a wide receiver.
Oh, it was definitely a wide receiver. And he definitely lays it on thick too. The question is which wide receiver, because who he absolutely had the man crush for, who was coming back for this season, but he went with somebody different. He did not. Yeah. He did not pick Martavis Bryant. He goes, "That's right, not Martavis Bryant." He says, "Juju Smith-Schuster, be my Valentine."
Oh no, he didn't.
Yeah, he did. He goes, he not only did Juju capture my heart, but you'll be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't enjoy watching him play the game. Parentheses, unless you're a Bengals fan for some strange reason. He says he loves Juju the most. And Reed went with a guy who captured a lot of hearts for many reasons this season. That would be Ryan Shazier, Mr. 50, number 50 himself. So, but he says, his story with alopecia and getting bullied as a kid and having to handle that, aside from, Ryan's shortcomings recently with the injury and rehab and whatnot. Just that was like the somber conclusion to the whole Valentine deal. But I have a few others, because you got to pick two and I didn't get to pick as many. So I'm going up and down the depth chart. We didn't have a whole lot of defensive picks. I mean, there was Cam, there was Vince.
Kind of a reason, I think.
I don't know, man. One. I don't know.
There's one more I could go with on the defense.
Well,
but,
go for
there's
it.
Two.
Go for it.
Maybe there's three. There's probably five.
They have 11 starters, dude. I mean, I could say I love all 22 plus the special teamers and the backups too.
Well, I could tell you right now, there are two guys that are not going to be my Valentine this year on the defense.
Okay.
So I'm going to go the flip side here, and that's Artie and Sean. Sorry, guys. You're not my Valentines this year. Artie Burns is not my Valentine this year, nor is Sean Davis. I have ultimate faith that these guys are going to have a bounce-back season next season, but way too many mistakes, and I was not happy. Joe Hayden, on the other hand.
Oh, man. I love
my heart's a
Joe
flutter.
Hayden.
My heart's a flutter for Joe. And, and then, there's other guys on there. You can't help but love big old Jay Wobble.
TJ Watt, man. TJ Watt. He's a sexy young guy too. I mean, he's got it going, the whole package. I mean, he was a heck of a rookie. I think a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with Mike Mitchell. I will leave it just at that. Stephon Tuitt's quiet name too. Jay Wobble's quiet name. Bud Dupree, I think that's another love-hate for the year. There's no one really other than Hilton. I mean, there's some reserve roles like Will Gay and stuff like that, but not a whole lot that people are going to be all over. I think a lot of people love Chris Boswell.
Yes.
Surprised he wasn't a pick. I know Terry had mentioned something about Arthur Moats as far as a reserve and his, man of the year, Walter Payton type deal and all the stuff he does for charity. I could see a Valentine going out for him. Ramon Foster, all the big guys need some love on the offensive line.
Big Ragu.
Yeah, all these guys. I love seeing like the underdog stories too. I love seeing some of the guys that are like backups and end up. Nobody went with Antonio Brown, one of the brightest smiles on that team, and no one picked Le'Veon Bell either. But Bell, that one might be a little more source.
There's a good reason nobody picked Lay. It's look. We're a little gun shy here. we're not going to jump on the Le'Veon Bell bandwagon thinking our hearts may be rejected in a few minutes or in a few months. Until that deal is done, forget it, man.
That is great. I almost want to end on that note, but I think our listeners were really surprised that I told you I still had a pick. I still have one other person. It wasn't Antonio Brown. It wasn't any of these names that we picked, but my other Valentine's Day card that goes out. You know, the flowers that I send, I paid cash for these. So the wife doesn't find out that there's a little, Vance McDonald doesn't find out there's a little someone on the side here. I sent those to the GOAT, Landry Jones. So,
look, I'm going to tell you, I knew it was coming, and I'm glad you sent him those flowers. Do you know why?
As I'm the only one who did.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Oh, poor Landry. Even more poor Josh Dobbs, because he just really gets the leftovers here. So, share some of those rose petals, will you, Landry? Send them over to Josh's way when you're in those QB meetings and whatnot. So, we had an entertaining talk today, and I'm curious about who some others, maybe some of our listeners want to share who they're in love with as far as Steelers. Maybe they're in love with somebody they want to come on to the Steelers. There's a flip side that we're going to be looking at here as free agency gets fired up, and then we move to the draft. You
did not just open that door, did you? Really?
I opened Pandora's box. Hey, it's better than getting.
You did, man.
It's better than getting Patriots and Ravens trolls in the comments sections everywhere. So, definitely better than that. The Bengals fans, they know their place, so they just kind of stay there. So it's good. Good having you back, Sir Robin. I mean, Lord Muckety-Muck.
Why, thank you, kind sir.
We'll have more to talk about. I think we're going to angle towards some draft things, some Tomlin things, some positional things here in the coming weeks, and whatever other ideas or things. Usually it's something someone irritates me with that gets me enough fired up to talk about it. So, Brian, I already said my thank yous and whatnot to you, so I will say that was Brian. I'm Joe.
I was.
Yeah, you were. Now you still are, Captain Obvious.
I am, probably.
But we're up against it. So, folks, keep the messages coming, and thank you as usual for listening. My name's Joe. He's Brian. Once again, be safe, be good. We'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.